around the planet in all of the forms that it takes. And so to get this, to be involved in this dream of bringing people together in person so that we can learn from each other, there will be people who are living nonviolence from around the world there, and creating the spaces where we can start looking at the different, I'd like to think of three different pillars. And one of those pillars is our own personal, our own personal transformation, our own personal trajectory, our own spiritual growth, our emotional growth, the learning, the skills that we cultivate, the choices we make, all of that inner work that helps us figure out what kind of life are we going to write for ourselves and what kind of life are we going to choose. And so there'll definitely be times, and I would love to jump into that right now, but I'm not going to, of like, how do we grieve? We really need strong practices of how do we grieve? How do we celebrate? Looking out the window, I can actually see a lake in the distance, and it's absolutely beautiful. And how do I not let the grief also get in the way of the joy? That's a deeply personal practice for me. And then how can I get my own self-confidence and trust within myself so that I can even act from that place? So one of those realms of personal growth, personal self-care, I don't know what to call it. I would actually, here's a request for all of you. What would you call what I'm talking about? If you could put it into a phrase, like your inner life or your personal transformation. I'm looking for some wording for this kind of pillar. So if you have ideas, I would love it if you wrote those into the chat to help me out. And then there's a second pillar, which I think is incredibly vital. And that is the pillar of community building. And community building, not just in terms of relationships and for empathic support, but I mean community building in terms of how we function in the world. How do we make sure that people within our communities are fed, they're housed, they have the education they need, they have the medical care they need? How do we build communities where everybody thrives on a systemic level, on a relational level? And that is urgent work for us right now, urgent and important work. And so that will be one other of the big components of living a nonviolent life and responding to these times of how do we bring the power back to our communities. And then, of course, there's a third area, which is the civil resistance area. How do we resist harm? How do we do everything that we can to not cooperate or to stop harm? And we'll be looking at that area of what are strategies that have worked in the past? Um, what are the particular pillars that are upholding systems of oppression, and what are the pillars that are upholding systems where people thrive? And how do we move our support into the systems where people thrive and out of the support for the systems of oppression? So that's my excitement for being here and doing that. And today I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, the topic of riding the waves between self-grounding and action in these turbulent times. Because I've been on those waves and they've been really, really high. One of the things that I'm really struck by is so many of my friends telling me, I wish I were doing more. I'm scared and I'm staying alone, and I'm either reading or watching the news, or I'm meditating, or I'm making meals for my neighbors, or, even my doctor said I wish I could do more action. It's everything I can to take care of my patients, and I'm afraid that I won't be able to take care of them well because of what's happening in the United States and the funding being eliminated from medical care. And that's one of the pieces I want to start with is all of those pieces for me are action, like taking care of patients, teaching the kids in school, taking care of your children, making meals for your neighbors, um, speaking out when something's not working. All of those are actions. And so many of us, I find, are are not recognizing that as action, and have this narrative and story that I'm powerless and I'm not doing anything when we're actually doing quite a bit in our lives. And I don't know if that resonates for anyone here, but I would love if you're willing to put in the chat, what are some of the things that you are doing that are in alignment with your values, that are taking care of yourself or other people during these times? Mm. Yeah, they're coming in, yeah. Expressing empathy, demonstrate being in nature to ground myself. Oh, looking at yourself, the unconscious violence, wanting to make some shifts and just noticing. Co-hosting morning circles, prayer, having hard conversations, singing, posting daily. Yeah, speaking out through social media, seeing the community, witnessing, wow, grief, donating, sharing information, being more aware of one's language in the practice, hiking community. Yeah, reading books. Yeah, cooking food for anyone who comes along. Stopping food waste. Yeah, NVC introductions, taking care of children. Wow. Talking to the elderly people in the area. Yeah. Gratitude. Thank you for that. Keep those coming. Keep those coming. I find personally that to have effective action, it's really used for me to have those grounding practices, right? Those grounding practices that even giving and receiving empathy is a grounding practice, or gratitude. To have the clarity and the strength and the resources and the agency that come from putting attention there. It makes me more vibrant and alive and keeps me alive rather than numbing out, which I sometimes choose to do. Sometimes that is self-care, I think, is numbing out and having some time to do that. But what I find during these turbulent times is it takes more energy and effort on my part. Does that resonate? More energy and effort for the grounding practices. And so even though I'm telling myself, don't spend more time grounding because you need to be out acting more, I find that my actions are less clear, less effective if I don't take the time grounding. So I'm wanting to remember that grounding, self-care is my base in order to be acting during these turbulent times. I also find that it requires a massive amount of pacing to build up resilience because I don't know when the turbulent times are going to end. I don't know if they're going to end in my lifetime. So I want to find a routine and a pacing to find the rhythm of the waves so I can do this combination of rest and act. This combination of taking in and giving out, of this letting go and challenging. Hands off, hands on, building, resisting. Like I want to find this rhythm and not just as an individual, but I want the communities that I'm in also to find this rhythm so that we're not just pushing each other all the time, that as a community, we can find and make spaces for rest. We can find and make spaces for grief. We can find and make spaces for finding whatever practices deeply ground us, that we receive the power of those through our bodies so that then we can go and act and riding those waves in community. And that's certainly one thing that we're going to try to find that rhythm when we're together in Spain during those days so that we have time to build ourselves up and our energy up and learn more practices to do that, as well as learn a lot more practices for action and get the support of community. So I do know that there's one big challenge. Like it's great to be saying all of this, but I have such a narrative inner work to do that I'm not doing enough in the world, that I'm not, my actions don't matter, right? Oh, yeah, I know you went out and protested today, but that's not enough. I know that you called your congressperson and you posted something, but that's not enough. And I'm curious, do any of the rest of you have a similar narrative that somehow your actions are, even though you're putting a lot of effort into them, they're meaningless? You can, I don't know, wave or put something in the chat or do a response. Yeah. Okay, I'm not alone on that one either. Yeah, yeah. For me, that's all part of our inner work, but part of part of what I'm trying to learn is that what makes a difference where communities start owning their own communities and their own power is when all of us take little actions. Like that all of the actions matter. Because as I'm learning with nonviolent resistance in particular, we just need a lot of people in every single diverse category of our society to be making changes. So when I think about what's mine to do, it's not to do everything. I want to choose the actions that actually fit my skill set, that fit my level of joy, that fit my level of comfort, that fit the degree to which I'm willing to have my comfort pushed and I can let go. And so there's a lot of considerations, the ones that work for my family and the family members that I'm to care for. So there's certain risks that I can take and care for my family, and there's certain risks that I can't take. And so I'm learning to like get creative in terms of we need thousands of different strategies. We need people to stay at home and cook food, and we need people to care for children, and we need people to be on the front lines, and we need people to be in government, and we need people to be activists, and we need people to be attorneys. We need people to be teachers, right? We need people to be artists and comedians because all of that, there's a role in creating the life we want and resisting harm. And so here's my invitation to you is to start thinking about what are the areas that you already have power in, the areas that you have skills, the areas that you think are joyful. Maybe you're a person who loves to draw, but you've never put it into to a particular action, someplace that can serve the community. Maybe you love to sing, maybe you love to write stories. Shaping our narrative now is a huge job, a huge job. So think of a particular situation where you'd like to take more action. And if you make it kind of concrete and simple for this exercise, that would be great. And then think of what are the skills, the expertise, or the interests that you already have that you'd like to bring more fully to that particular space. And then I invite you to just start dreaming, like dreaming about what is it that you can do. Can you help others grieve or create grieving spaces? Can you document visually through camera or art form what's going on, or do the kind of storytelling either about what's happening or what the kind of world that's possible, like what the alternatives are? Can you grow food? Do you have a job that you can either um, bring to different locations or to different clients? Do you have a job you could stay home from that would be a protest? Is there some sort of alternative institution of creation, like even within your neighborhood, how you make decisions or how you deal with the economy? Are there dance or performances or music that you can do? Writing letters, doing petitions. Just spend a moment to make a list for yourself. And this first list is really, what can you do? And because we have such a short time, I'm just going to move us on a little bit. The next one is, what will you choose to do? And this one is important to me. Just because I can do it doesn't mean that it's in my best interest or somebody else's best interest. And the what do I choose to do is really important to my self-grounding and pacing and resilience that I can keep over time. I want to do something that I have a yes for. And that yes can come from a variety of places. One, it could be because that's all the energy I have right now. It could be because I really want to be with other people. And this is a way for me to take action and be with other people. Like the more needs I can meet in a single strategy, then the more likely I am to go toward that. But coming from a place of choice rather than have to also brings me to the energies that I can keep talking about, the needs that I want to meet rather than throwing out judgments and hate about what I don't like. And then ask yourself this question, what is it that you might need to do before you choose to act? Is there some kind of support? Do you need to rest? You need to eat a meal? Do you need to get some empathy for the mourning or the grief? Or maybe you need more information. You need some advice or some planning. But before you take action for your care, your well-being, what needs to happen first? And with each of these steps, as you start to get more and more specific, and I think of the action that you want and have it, or the support that you need, and have it be very concrete and specific, doable. I'm finding that my big dreams are now getting down into little bite-sized pieces every day. So every day I'm learning, I'm trying to stay informed, I'm taking some action of some kind without judgment on my part. Some days it's a bigger action and other days it's not. And I'm laughing and I'm grieving. And I'm checking in on at least one family member a day, make sure they're okay. I would like to give you an opportunity to have a voice, to hear each other, to go into some small groups. How much, Racheli, how much time do we have for these 10 minutes, 15?
I think we can go for 15.
Okay. Then
Yeah.
I'll invite you in your small groups to kind of share anything that you want to share that has come up for you in this call, which maybe is groups of about 3, so you can track your time. So maybe 4 or 5 minutes each. And then just these are some suggestions. How is it that you do care for yourself? What are you grieving and celebrating? What are the actions that either you're already doing or that you hope to do? So anything you want to share about what's come up for you, and then we'll come back and Racheli will tell us a little bit more about the convention, answer any questions that you have.
Yeah, I think we also might have time for hearing from people in the big room about, asking you questions. I think there'll be time, I hope.
Terrific. Okay. Mariah, you can let us know when you're ready.
So for now, I have, well, actually what I haven't done is ask the people who do not want to participate in a breakout room to put 2 dashes in front of your name so that I see you on the screen and on the list of people, and I can put you in a different breakout room where you can just wait for the exercise to be over. That would be really helpful. Otherwise, there will be people with no one to practice with in the room.
And if they find themselves in a room alone, do you want them to wait there so you can move them around or come back to
Yes,
them?
you,
Okay,
so that I
great.
see.
You'll track. Great. And I love your question, the how do I ground and build in trust? Yeah, be great question to bring to your group.
Just gonna take a few minutes, so you know.
Sure. Mm. I'm also really happy to see in the chat, what are some of the actions that you already know that you want to take in addition to what you're already doing?
Okay. So
You can
most of
set
the
this down?
rooms, most of the rooms are groups of threes, and there are some rooms where there's only 2 people. So you'll see that once you arrive.
Maybe
Okay.
let's go for 12 minutes. Is it possible?
Yeah.
So that we have time together when in the end.
Okay, so I'll notify you after maybe 10 minutes so that you can wrap it up and then close the room, okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Now, shall I open the rooms?
Yes, please.
Okay. So there you go. Enjoy.
Oh,
Okay, I see Franco said he lost the invitation to the room.
you see?
Mhm. So normally when you lost it, you can just click on the breakout session symbol at the bottom of the page and join again.
That
I
would be
see
under
that
the
in room
more.
number 9. Oh,
Mm.
sorry. There's only one person in room number 9. Should we move them to room number 8, let's say?
And I joined you quite
Oh,
late, so
let's wait.
maybe I may not be in any of your rooms because I just joined.
Oh, welcome, Karen.
Oh, so
Thank
maybe
you. I could only make it
all
now.
right.
So I thought, yeah.
I'm gonna send you to room 9
Send me to room
because
9.
there was no one.
Thank you.
Yes, you have
Thanks
been
for
sent.
jumping in.
There's just a second there.
Great.
In your room number 9, people could not join. So I'm putting her in room number 12.
No, oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, there was one person there alone.
So
Did
como
you
ves?
put me in a room with participants? Should I go there, or do you just put me in a room? Like I could stay in the main room?
Yes, you just as you like, but let me see. I have not
Would you
consciously
like
put.
to be in a room with participants?
If I'm one of the ones counted in, I'll go, but otherwise I'll stay in the main room.
You can just stay.
I think that it's okay. It's okay. I
See,
think
that's
everyone has someone to be with.
Just one
great.
person.
No one is alone. Good
There's
job,
one.
Alrighty. Thank you.
Alrighty, please, could you add me to a room? It's Aongwa.
Hi, Zahra.
Hi.
Okay.
Welcome.
And Heather, I see you said that you're to please add you to a room.
Yes, please.
Okay. Let me see where there's. Number 5. So, Ongo, did you get the invitation? I sent you to a room.
Wow. It's really like riding the waves, huh? It really is.
Life right now, yeah.
Yeah, like there are days where there's nothing I could do, like nothing, literally. Right? You were sharing about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Marty, did we pause the recording or is it recording?
I didn't pause it, so it's really.
Okay, so let's record. We can continue. Because hi Franco, did you want to be in a room? Hi. Yeah,
Okay.
you would like? Okay. Mariah, do you think you can send him?
Yes. What happened? That nobody came. I'll send you to 14. There you go.
Yeah. I wonder if it was too much the way I shared in the beginning, like I was just sharing a lot.
No, no, for me it was beautiful because this offering feels very different to me. It feels very different because you're asking us to show up for what's happening in the world right now. And that's critical. How can we show up for what's happening in the world right now if we're not saying what's real, right? What is it that we're reacting to, and what's the depth of our reaction? What's the depth of our being? What's it speaking to? So I'm really grateful for how you started in the beginning and shared, and I want us to create spaces where we're real with each other, both about the celebration and the love, and also the cost and the harm. And I don't really know as a human being how to live with that degree of horror is the only thing. Like there's something about a horror and cruelty and stuff that is just beyond kind of what's possible to breathe in or take in. And yet we're asked to live in these times and do something about it. So that for me is kind of the call of Spain, the call of what you've created. And I know that me, as I've been continuing to study and learn more, I'm really spending a lot of time reading about kind of the whole history of nonviolent resistance and nonviolent change and all of that, and seeing what's happening around the world right now is I actually have a lot of hope and feel a lot of power about how much people are deciding, hey, that's not the world I want to live in. I'm not going to cooperate. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this instead. And I'm deeply inspired by it. So that was maybe a very long response to what you were saying. It was
Good.
offered in the
I
spirit
love
of
that.
reassurance and seeing if we're kind of on the same page too. I don't know.
Yeah.
Reaction to that?
Yeah, for me, I love hearing what you just shared, and I feel hopeful and inspired by it and more comfortable because in a normal conversation to just say terrible, hi, good evening, terrible things are happening, I feel like I'm burdening people, I'm bursting their bubble. There's a sense of maybe I should have also ask myself because there's words that you say about terrible things happening and there's a huge impact and weight and human experience behind the words, and I
Mhm.
do worry sometimes about speaking about things. It's a question, and then I still ask some of these questions about what you said. It's it allows it feel more relaxed. Like, yes, there is space for the realness. This is what's happening, and let's not pretend it's not happening, but find our way through it together. It's what I'm hearing from your sharing.
Mm-hmm. And I so appreciate your continuing to name that our words and our energy and our actions have real impact on people. So how do we name what's happening with care, right? With care and if the intention is really to support life moving in the direction that we want, then how do our words do that rather than either shut us down or contribute to the hate? And I think that's where nonviolent
Exactly.
communication comes in big time because I don't know if you know Ruth Ben-Ghiat's work on strongmen is that the way that people resist strongmen, the way that their vulnerability and weaknesses are exposed, and the way that they lose their powers when people talk about love and compassion and empathy and humor and music and the arts, which is so encouraging to me. You know, lifetime as a music conductor and, you know, in the art world and then as an NVC trainer. That's what I've done the last 50 years, 25 in the field of conducting, 25 in the field of NVC. And that's what's more powerful. It's hard to believe, but when we can speak, you know, against harm because we have another vision and inviting people into that, I really think that that's what nonviolent communication brings is one of the deep powers of this work. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And then, yeah, it just connects to me too. I'm very like in a state of overwhelm. I guess I was worried that I'm transmitting this energy when I was speaking because it's been a crazy week.
Yeah.
And I'll say we've had missiles, like we've had sirens every night here from Yemen. And so my nervous system is not like wonderful. And it's been the first week that I've stepped into action since like 3 years of like direct action in the streets with my neighbors, which normally I'm in action more with people who live far away who are like coalition with Palestinians. And I just want to say that we cooked a huge pot of amazing soup for the people who were like camping in the streets. And it was just a neighbor saying, I have a huge pot, come with your vegetables. And it's going to be given to, it was very cold this week in Jerusalem. It's going to be given to the demonstrators. And yeah, it's just energy of softness and nourishment. And it feels like so much. And it's just cooking soup, you know, and it's just, and doing it together. And I invited my mom to come. And
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Wow. There's nothing like the
It
kindness and
speaks
the
to me about like the
gentleness.
energy. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm?
Keep going. This speaks to you the energy of
An energy of softness and love and like yeah, like simple things like let's eat together and take care of each other when it's cold and you know, it's just
yeah.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I just want to say
I
that
want to
whatever energy
yeah.
you come with is welcome. I think that's the big thing. It's like, of course, there's overwhelm. Of course, like, how does a human being live through what you're living through? And that
Mm,
seems to be like the space that you're wanting to create for us in Spain is that all of this is welcome because it's part of our human experience.
thank you. Yeah, the authenticity is a huge part of, right? Being with what is together. I want to check in on the time. Should we let people in that they will be invited back soon? Because it would be
Yeah, we
so
can.
nice to connect in the big circle.
Yeah.
So I can send like I can end the rooms in 1 minute.
Yeah. And thank you, Lauren,
Mm.
for your chat messages.
Oh, I want to see what Lauren wrote.
Yeah.
Oh,
So many
yes.
places in constitutional crisis or humanitarian crisis, and US is one of them right now for sure.
Yeah, so much happening in the US, and it's influencing so many other places
It's yeah.
in so many ways.
Yeah.
I know it's influencing Kenya. It's crazy,
Oh,
right? Like everything is
I
connected.
know. I'll start crying. People are dying because of what's happening. The government has just taken away $1.5 billion in food aid to the American people,
Wow.
to their own people.
Wow. It's inconceivable.
Mm.
I'm closing the rooms now.
Yeah, thank you.
People have 60 seconds.
So, Racheli, should we ask people to put if they had any big ahas into the chat or experiences and then just do questions for you on the
I wonder if we have time for questions for you. So we want to end at, we actually were supposed to have an hour and a half, right? The event is supposed to go for 35 more minutes. I'm correct, right?
I thought it was supposed to end in 5 minutes. Okay, great.
Are you? So we have
Welcome
time
back,
to now
everyone.
hear.
Ah,
Yeah,
no,
we have
yeah,
like
we have a whole other half
maybe
hour.
we have like 20 minutes now for
Mayor.
before yeah.
Oh, great.
I also got confused.
Yeah. Yeah. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. I have a lot of compassion for my brain. I thought we had 5 minutes left and I had talked so long and there wasn't going to be time for your voices. And then that's what happens when I'm under stress, right? Our brains forget. So, but we have a half hour. So I would love, love, love to hear how have you been moved or changed by being in your groups and exploring that difference between self-grounding and action in turbulent times. Like, if there's anybody who wants to speak, I'd love to hear your voice. If you want to just put it in the chat, you can. Just have you been moved or changed or something that you've learned or something that you've taken in a way that's shifted a perspective for you? And if you'd like to speak, you can go ahead and raise the hand and the reaction, or even, yeah, great. Magdalena.
Yes, hi. I've been moved by listening to how my fellow participants ground themselves.
Mm.
And I also admire them for their resilience when they mention their challenges. And this connection makes me feel I'm not alone when I meet challenges. And so met my need for not just connection, but community and even safety.
Mhm.
Even safety. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It just reminds me that it's so easy to think that a conversation isn't important, and the number of times that it can literally be life-changing for another person, even if it just brings courage. Courage is the quality I'm looking for every day, and I know that I usually get it from a conversation from somebody else. So thank you for sharing that. Colby, love to hear from you.
Thank you. What I find so nourishing in circles like these, if one were to listen to the news, one could easily get a pessimistic outlook on the fate of the world in the future ahead of us. When we join groups like these, and I listen to two other people sharing from their hearts about the efforts they have already undertaken, the ideas enthusiasm, motivation, care, and love that is just pouring out, and also a receptiveness to feedback. Because you put those together, care and curiosity and compassion, and anything is possible. There's no fear or violence in this world that can't be overcome.
Mm. Wow, thank you for that. Thank you. A reminder that these times of change means we get to change the world in the direction we want it to go to, right? These are opportunities. Ah, Juliana.
So thank you for this topic. And what I learned from you, Kathleen, is self-grounding means really self-connection, connecting to myself. That's what I got. And when I connect to that myself, and I can connect to the beloved divine energy, that awareness of, the needs, the need of just being aware of beloved divine energy in me, that enables me to love the people around me who are wounded, and therefore they end up wounding other people. But I can be strong as long as I'm self-connected to the source of energy inside of me. That's the first thing that I wanted to share. The second thing I wanted to share is about action, the action. And I got this sometime last week from a meeting last week. What is the meaning of compassion? It is being in passion or in suffering with that particular situation. And when I am in that passion and in that suffering, I am moved to action. And this really made so much sense. We talk about this compassionate consciousness of nonviolent communication. This made so much sense to me. And I'm just trying to live more into this and integrate this more into my life. Just wanted to share this with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Everybody.
Thank you.
You.
And it reminds me of kind of this key differentiation that I like to think of being open to influence, but not overwhelmed by influence. It's like, how can I take in what's coming at me and be influenced by it, but keep my grounding at the same time, so that I'm also influenced by the power of life that moves through me. And then I can really be at choice about how I respond to what's coming at me. And it's quite a challenge and a delicate balance for me most of the time, but it seems really, really critical to be
Right.
open to influence, but not overwhelmed by it. So that sense of being aware that I remain at choice.
Yes, thank you.
I
And
have choice in how I respond. Yeah.
thank you, Kathleen, for saying this, because there is something called the circle of concern. And I can have such a big concern about the whole world. And there is this my circle of influence, which is within my control, as you rightly say. And that's the only thing I can control. I cannot control other people. I can, I may feel hopeless about the world and the world situation, but what I can have hope in my heart. I can control that. Yeah. So that is.
Thank you so much, great.
Leanne, thank you for the compassion. With her that I learned this beautiful, deep meaning of compassion.
Beautiful. Leanne, would love to hear from you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. I was thinking about what you just said, Kathleen, and this idea that we only have control of ourselves. But I find sometimes when I'm so impassionated or suffering that I don't actually have control of myself. I'm being controlled by my emotions, and it's quite overwhelming. So I'm wondering if we could talk about that for a few minutes.
Yeah, thank you, Leanne. I'm imagining it's like, how do I have some choice about what's happening inside my inner world? Is that really part of the question? It's like, how do I have some choice about how much I want to put my energy in any direction?
Yeah, or even as simple as what are some of the grounding techniques that we use to be able to bring ourselves back to the present moment and then regain control of how we are behaving so that we're responding rather than reacting.
Yeah, so thank you for the question. I don't know what we have control over and if we have control over anything. I really don't. So I really like to use the word just influence, like what can I influence, or how can I respond to things? Because I was telling my husband this week, is like, when I think of choice, like I've written this book, right? Choice. It's with me all the time, just to remember I always have choice. But I said, I know that joy is a choice. I spent a day like, I know that joy is a choice, and I'm working really hard to make that choice. But grief and despair don't feel like a choice at all right now. They're just there. And so part of what I mean by like choice or having influence is, for me, it's a part of like acknowledging, oh, this is really here, because I've spent a lifetime of trying to push it away. And so my skills I need to learn is just to acknowledge the grief, and I'm learning to let it flow more in the moment, because the waves are so high and so fast that if I don't, then I find myself just numbing down. And so for part of that is just noticing the life that's in grief, right? Oh, this life wants to move through me right now. And then I get to choose, do I give it more room here? Do I want to remember and set it aside to, and there's another context in which I can do that? And how can I call forth joy in times when I'm also wanting to balance out? Like, so it's a both of noticing the life that's already there and choosing how I want to respond. And then also choosing what else do I want to bring into the space right now that would be nurturing for me or another person. So it's kind of a both noticing and also realizing that I get to also write the story and it's based on, this is where I see nonviolent communication so beautiful. It's kind of based on where I put my attention. You know, where I put my attention is what follows. And so when I go in search of the needs are life energy, they're power. And when I put my attention on the well-being of all, a world where, you know, children have food, that's one that's just hitting me really hard right now. I'm aware how much I want a world where children have food. Like there's a different clarity that I have that can move me into action. What are there some ways right now where I can make sure that some children in the world have food and take action to do that? I don't know if that's useful, Leanne, responding to what you're saying.
For me, yeah, I heard what you shared. I appreciate your insights. I wonder if other people have any ideas to share, but I'm happy to move on whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Happy to put those, do you want to pop those in the chat? And I'm wondering, Raquel, if you would also enjoy at this point having some questions directed towards you, maybe more about the Spain training.
I'm open to shifting to that when you feel it's the right moment. So we can do that maybe. If
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, is it feel like it's time?
And I invite you to keep in the chat also some of the questions that Leanne was bringing around grounding and finding more choice or influence within our own selves. How you doing?
Thank you. I think that's actually a huge and beautiful question that I'm exploring day by day. So I love that question. And oh, okay. So Mariah D, if you can please open share the screen with the themes of the convention. And the reason why I want to start with that, I'll be speaking for a couple of minutes and then I'll be happy to hear questions about anything we shared tonight, both the convention or the content. Will just be open for questions. So the reason why I'm sharing this is because I know many of you are also not going to be joining the conference. And I think it's beautiful to see the questions that we as a team preparing for the conference came up with, sorry for my English, And maybe you can, you know, have circles in your own community where you're exploring these questions together, even with one friend. And we will also have more free events. There's still 2 months until the convention, and there's more free events to join and explore these from wherever you are together with us. So we identified 8 themes. Mariety, can you share the screen? And is it, I know you're trying. I don't know if I remember all of them by heart, and I want to go through them and say that definitely one of them is,
and the screen
you know,
went black, so they're coming. I'm just working on it.
I can also try to share it if you prefer. It's so
I'll try, and if it
definitely one of the
works, I'll
themes
keep
one of
trying.
the
If it doesn't work,
themes.
I'll let you know. Sorry.
Okay. Okay, so one of the themes has to do with, you know, the inner work. So it's what Leanne has been referring to. And there's a lot of personal processes that each of us are going through. And in many NVC spaces, we dedicate a lot of spaces for supporting each other, deep listening, a lot of healing, and also healing our relationships, because Kathleen was saying she's dedicating time to check in. Here, that's great, Mariety. Only if you could make it a bit bigger, that would be nice. So here it says personal growth and transformation. And Kathleen was saying that you're taking time to check in on family members, and I will add friends to that daily. That is such a huge act of care and contribution at this time. And the more our relationships are resilient and strong, and it's hard to maintain them, I have to say, in difficult times, the better we can survive and thrive, or you know, be active in these times. I just want to share that I had to move into my parents' house for a year. I'm back in my own place now because we didn't have a bomb shelter in our house. And wow, to live with your parents suddenly is a huge challenge and a strain on the relationship. And I really am so thankful for NVC and what it was able to contribute to me for like these relationships in this year. So that's definitely a big part of the conference, as the convention, as we always do, inner work, relationship work. It says here also nurturing personal relationships, resilience, joy. You can read this. Another thing is finding and redefining meaning and a clear vision, because I really feel like that the pace and the kind of actions that I was involved in for over a decade with NVC, of bringing people together to have conversations and learn NVC together, Palestinians and Israelis, it's all well and beautiful, but there's a certain sense of urgency now with the climate change, with the collapse of the democratic systems that we're seeing. And everywhere, I know that people are dealing with different things around the world. There's really a sense that we want to dive deep together and kind of hone in and redefine our vision for the next few days, the next few months. How do we find meaning in our action now? And part of what, Kathleen, you were doing with us here tonight, for me, it was helpful. I'm, you know, coming from very simple of identifying what it is that is important for me to do. That was already starting to touch on that. And Sangha, sacred community. Kathleen and me, I know we both really, really love this, but actually I think it's Kerry Buckmaster from the UK who's going to be mostly leading us through this. What does it take to build community, to nurture community, to maintain community, to find community that I can feel belonging with? It's not a given, you know, even with your biological family, your neighbors, where do we find community? How do we create this community? And specifically around nonviolent practices. So in the convention, we plan to really be living through this, like building as we do. We have many tools from Marshall, and we're going to bring more tools for creating a strong network of the people who will be there. And I found that extremely supportive. Even when I go back to my where I normally live, to have these international connections is extremely nurturing and has actually given me so much support through my local activism, but also the meta, like not only experiencing, but asking together, what's going to help me to build my own community and my circles when I come back home. So we're going to want to experience it and to think of how we're going to do it when we come back. Then we have this issue of transforming enemy images while still calling out harm. And again, I'm sharing all of these in the hope that wherever you are in the world, you might find this document helpful. And I know Maradi can also share it in the chat, so you can all have it later. So there's so much work to be done across the polarization and really seeing the other as the bad person. And there's so much compassion to be found for everyone always. And that's just a big part of who we are as NVC practitioners. And there's also this very strong point of calling out harm. And how do we balance that, you know, and say what we are standing up against and we are protecting. And so that's always a balance in many conversations with family members, on the political level, in the neighborhood level, many, many things. Fierce compassion for myself, self-empathy. Why is that radical and completely needed when I want to take action? I think Kathleen was also touching on that today. Just, I need to rest. And what do I choose to do? So much. And then organizing and taking action. That's mostly going to be led by Tarek Masarani, who I think is a very, very special NVC trainer and a person who is involved in so much action. He lives in Washington, D.C., but he's working in different parts of the globe on many different levels. Organizing and taking action. You can read the text here, but there's really so much about civil resistance strategies, planning, mobilizing, coalition building. And I think Kathleen is going to be sharing with us a lot of the history of nonviolent movement, what has been done in the world and how we can draw inspiration and learning from there. This document is what are the 8 themes we identified for the convention. And I'm sharing with you, hoping to invite you to the convention, hoping to invite you to contribute funds to the convention, but also you can use it in your own process wherever you are working in the world. A lot of space for mourning. There is so much loss and there's so much fear. So we will be creating daily spaces for mourning through art, through different ritual and skill building, which we also hope we can take back home with us. And also we just hope to create a lot of space for the real mourning that we need and to do it together in community. That's a whole skill set. I think the last one is protective use of force. Yeah. Where does what is, you know, it's always this thing. I was reading from the Bhagavad Gita today about we don't know we can do the best we can, and then we surrender the fruits of our action, and it is also, we don't know what will be the consequences of our action, but it is also not taking action is also not necessarily the way. So it's really, I don't know if this connects to you, but to me it somehow connects to, like, we want to take action and we all want to protect and we want to use force to protect. It's a whole question. I know in the Israeli-Palestinian dilemma, it's big dilemma, conflict, war. Yeah. So these are the points we identified. And Maradi, if you can stop the screen sharing, and if you can let me know if there are any questions in the chat that were shared while I was speaking that we might want to address. Can also let me know later if you want to.
Yeah, there's a question. Can this document be shared in our local communities?
Yeah, we're being how do you say, open and generous and like just like not, yeah, how do you say, transparent. We're happy for you to share it forward, and we're happy for you to do the work wherever you can, and if you get inspiration from it, wonderful. If you're able to join us in Spain, wonderful. And Maredi, are you able to share the website of the convention so people can, who haven't explored it yet, can see the page? We're going to be in Cádiz, Spain from May 24th to 31st. So Saturday to Saturday. And it's a very beautiful location. The team there is also very involved with NVC. So it's lovely to be hosted by them. Vegan, friendly, And you can scroll down just so where we see the trainers, the 3 trainers, if you can. Thank you. We have 12 so far activists who are joining us from all around the world. We had many applicants and we identified incredible people. If you're following our newsletter, we've been sharing who the people are. And here you can pause here. Thank you so much. And also there are events where we invite you to meet the fellows, meet the activists from around the world. And we also have participants from around the world. We would love for you to join. We have a small kids hub. So there will be maybe 5 to 10 kids joining because we want to include parents and this vibration of children in the community. They'll have their own little NVC program. And the 3 trainers are Kathleen, who is here with us, and I really deeply appreciate the work you have been doing, Kathleen. I've known Kathleen for over a decade, and I'm learning so much from you all the time. Yeah, with very, very deep understandings of NVC that I haven't, are rare for me. NVC and social change and how they come together, and many more things. And then we have Tarek. And you can read about them in the website. We invited these specific trainers because we just felt that they really, or you really, Kathleen, since you're here, they really can touch upon the 8 questions that we identified with mobilizing change, with deep healing, with understandings of NVC. The convention is geared toward people with experience with NVC. So if you don't have prior experience, we ask that you take foundational courses, and we can also offer access to them for these for you via our online recordings and before the convention, because we will not be teaching basic foundations of NVC. We're going to be diving deep into the themes we identified. And so someone here asked about activists. So not necessarily. We really invite people who just are coming for community or for individual processes of healing and strengthening your personal relationships. There's going to be a choice available around which sessions to also participate. And I want to say that through the convention, we will have sessions with content that the trainers are bringing, and we will also have open sessions every day that are meant for processes of conflicts that you bring from your own lives, dilemmas that you bring from your own lived experience, and the trainers will be dedicating hours every day to just leading through, we call these What's Alive sessions. So the 3rd trainer we have is Carrie Buckmaster from the UK, who I also really, really, really love. And yeah, I welcome you to visit their websites, learn more about them, regardless if you're coming to the training or not. I think we can close the shared screen and just open it up for any questions about the convention, or if you still have questions for Kathleen, something you want to share. We have 8 more minutes together. So
Racheli,
yeah, I can stay a little longer. Yeah.
I just have an
Please.
addition to something you said when you're talking about it's not for NVC kind of basics, that we won't go over to the foundations of the basics. I just want to say that in my journey with nonviolent communication, that this is like a practice. And so the basics, the foundation is also the deep part. They're one and the same. I don't really know how to describe it. It's sort of like if you're learning a swimming stroke, you keep trying to deepen and become more, make that stroke possible and make it elegant and make it more efficient and effective, but it's still deeply, deeply grounded in both the principles and the action. And as we change and grow, those principles, those skills change and grow with us and in our context and community. So I'm hearing the invitation of it's really, really, really useful for people to come with some grounding that we can continue to build on while we're there. That it would be harder to dive in if there's not a reference point. Is that sort of what you're saying too? Does that match your understanding? that to have a grounded reference point in nonviolent communication would be really supportive to diving in.
Thank you so much for this, Kathleen. And as I said, I learn from you every single time. So yeah, I very much connect. And I also love about NVC that the simple distinctions are so huge and key, and again and again and again. Just saying, oh, this is a thought, this is a feeling, distinguishing judgment from observation. It's like we can do it 1,000 times, and it's ever, yeah,
There's a question.
like evolving. And yes, Maridi, please.
There's a question like, are the topics exclusive for this year, or are they every year the same?
So great question. I also saw it in the chat. Thank you. So we came up with these 8 questions that were very much alive in us now. So we have this urgent need to come together and to nourish each other through deep exploration. And these are the topics we identified. We don't know if we will have another convention. It's also financially a huge challenge for us to hold this. And we have all the conventions we held so far were in like the physical ones, face-to-face ones, were in Israel, Palestine, where hosting has been cheaper. And I would love for us to have many more of these. I don't know. And I also don't know what will be most alive in 6 or 8 months or whenever we have the next one. So I can only speak about this time. And Maridi, I do want to ask you to share all our links for contribution in the chat, and to say that any amount you contribute, even if you contribute $10, 100 euros this evening, it will be doubled. That your impact is doubled. So if you are able to contribute anything at all towards making this event happen and more people being included in it, that would be very, very lovely. And I see that Leanne is raising her hand. I would love to hear from you.
Yeah, I just have another clarifying question with respect to how much of a foundation you would like to have participants to have before arriving. And I wonder if it would be sufficient for people to have read the book, Nonviolent Communication. Do you think that's sufficient enough? I think maybe that would give them the understanding that they would need to be able to participate. Is that right?
So we do have from the fellows that are coming from around the world, people who are active in nonviolent change in their communities, and they have not done any NVC trainings. And we are specifically inviting them to watch. We're giving 10 recordings from our NVC Rising library of sessions. I think each of them is 2 to 3 hours long. And we're seeing that as sufficient, you know? So I think that it's really a very personal thing, and people who are registering, we meet with them and we ask them and where they are and what they're able to do. And, you know, it's not a red line of if you haven't read the book, don't come. If we generally want the conversation in the room to be aware of the NVC distinctions, because we want to go deep. And we also understand that there are, you know, amazing individuals who don't have introduction to NVC that will be lovely to include them. So I hope, is that clear enough? Yes, thank you. Good. I would love to welcome more questions or sharings. Yeah.
There's another question. It's a question about the recordings.
How do I raise my hand? Jan, you can also just unmute, maybe. If I see where you are, I can also unmute you. Where are you? And how do you raise your hand? You go to react. There's like a little heart at the bottom, and you press the little arrow, and then you should have a way, also a raise hand symbol, and then you can raise your hand. But do you want to just unmute yourself and speak? Thank you. I see the lovely messages in the chats, and it's very heartwarming. Here, I'm going to try to, I asked you to unmute because I saw you for a moment. Jan, ask to unmute. Here, I'm asking, how can I help you to unmute? Do you know how to unmute yourself? because you can just speak. I see you're raising
There
your
it
hand. Here,
goes.
wonderful. Let's hear from you.
There
Thank
it
you.
goes. I'm hitting it on my picture. Okay. Whoa. I want to thank you all. I'm amazed by the term metta. You say META, and then there's metta practice of loving kindness. And that capacity to hold the sorrow and the joy and to exchange ourselves for others. That unifying in our breath, I think with oh my God, well, I guess it's with life, everything breathes. But but anyway, I just really appreciate it, and the self-empathy and our personal ability to hold our open hearts. I would love to go because I'll be close to Spain. So I would love to go, and I'm continuing to listen to see, and feeling really nurtured by the that actually simultaneously we're creating this together. And I'd also like to say it already exists. Peace already exists, right? We don't need to create it. We just need to get out of the way. I feel that way in my personal life. In so many cases, I just had to get myself out of the way. But thank you all. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Beautiful. So I want to say that officially our time together is ending. And thank you for joining us tonight, this morning, this afternoon. It's different times for different people. I'm gonna be holding space for a few more minutes if someone wants to unmute and share. And I want you to feel very free to sign out. Already, can you just share the link for our future events? Do you know where it is? We're having free events every 1 or 2 weeks, and we would love to see you touching on themes of the convention, meeting the activists, meeting each other, being together, becoming, supported and inspired in these times. So we'd love to see you again. Yeah, and if you want to share anything, Kathleen, I want to thank you. This is very important, for showing up, for being here tonight, for being who you are in the world. You're really a beacon of light for me. And I absolutely love being in your company. And yeah, send you so much love. And I'm so happy I'm going to meet you in person in 2 months and get to hug you and explore deeply with you. And thank you for being with us tonight. And I wish you lots of blessings in these coming weeks. I know they're difficult where you are. And
Thank you. Thank you, Racheli, for holding the space and your vision. It's mutual, so back at you. And thank you to each one of you who took the time to be with us. It means a lot to me. Time is precious.
really, yes, it's huge. It's very, very meaningful that you're here with us to feel together and less
And I'll
alone.
stay around
And
another 10
Mariah,
minutes. People have questions too.
okay, great. I'll just, before we go to hear from you guys again, Mariah D, thank you for being with us, for being part of the NVC Rising team, for coming to the Rising for Life convention in Spain to support the community. I feel very safe and relaxed that you're here this evening and with us in Spain and all the work with NVC Rising. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Mariah D is joining us from Austria. And yeah, let's just see if someone wants to share something, ask a question, or say something about your experience, your thoughts. Just say good night. You can just unmute and say good night if you like, or, goodbye, just to be heard, to have your voice heard.
Hello,
Good
everyone.
night. Good night. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good
Thank you,
night. Hi,
Kathleen.
Sagwa.
Thank you.
I've seen Kathleen on so many invites. I'm just glad that I'm seeing her for the first time in a meeting. It's very exciting. I love her hair. It's beautiful to see.
Oh, I hope so much
Thank
we
you,
meet
Kathleen.
someday. Thank you. Hmm.
I hope so. Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Good night, Raquel, Maridi, Leanne, Laura. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
So,
Bye.
Bye.
thank you so much, Racheli. Where are you? You've gone away. Maridi, Kathleen. Thank you, everyone. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, sending you a lot of love, all of you. Yeah, and a lot of prayers for what you're going through, Rachel, you and your family. I will be with you.
Good night.
Night, jó éjszakát, köszönöm szépen.
Franco, did you want to say, I saw you unmute yourself before. Did you want to say hi?
I already said good night. Thank you very much.
Good night. Where are you calling from? I'm just curious.
I'm curious. I'm calling from Italy.
Oh,
From
wow, lovely.
Bologna.
Wonderful.
Lovely.
And I can't find how to exit.
It's I suppose it's a good question. I think on the bottom at the right, maybe you might have a leave button. That's also funny. You can leave. Tree, I'm happy that you're here. And also Heather. Haven't seen you in a long time. Hi, Tree.
Hi.
Oh,
Have we stopped the recording?
oh yes. Good idea.
I just want